Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Dearest Mother and Dad. Love, Ruth, John, Mark, and Pamela. Ruth Smallshaw Ray's Letters to Her Parents, 1957, Part 106. 602 Huntmere Drive, Bay Village, Ohio, March 6, 1957. Dear Dad and Mother, we were very sorry to hear about Aunt Ethel, your sister, Dad, and quite stunned, as I imagine you were too. You had mentioned her illness on the train, but had not said anything about a heart attack, so we were in the middle of plans for their visit when your letter arrived after the funeral. I imagine it must be particularly hard for Lloyd and Maureen. John's Uncle Ted Zook was here the night we heard, and of course immediately he said, "Butter and eggs." We are hearing more and more about cholesterol in the diet that causes hardening of the arteries and high blood pressure, and the resulting heart attacks. A thrombosis is a blood clot that can go through the system. When it hits a vital organ such as the brain, cerebral thrombosis or heart, coronary thrombosis, it causes death. It doesn't come on, but usually there are minor attacks first that serve as warning. So we hope you cut out butter, bacon, and eggs. We have almost entirely, except for the children and eggs for cooking. We find also fine and vegetable fats are not harmful. This does not seem to be a fad, but research is showing it. And Aunt Ethel certainly did use lots of butter and eggs. We received the slides of baby Brian yesterday. Wish there was one of you with him. He certainly looks like Doris. Bud looks so proud. Reminds me of Uncle Fred's expression, his forehead. The children enjoyed the socks too. Mark wore the red ones all day and all night. Finally, today he admitted they were a little cold outdoors and took them off, and had red feet. He was so surprised, and we had to scrub to get the dye off. Mark's a pet, and the shirt fits fine too. Pamela has been such a sweet little girl, and a real friend to her mommy for about a month. I really had hopes we were going to be compatible. She is extremely interested in being pretty and in clothes, and is very critical of my appearance at age 2. But after being on the go for 8 straight nights, I caught a cold and Pam got it. What a pill she was and is. John was away for the weekend again, and when he arrived home, I was ready to blow up. Pam had me up almost all night, and even tonight it's 10:30, and she's been out of bed 100 times. What a character. I hope she gets over the cold quickly. I do hope that you'll plan to take your vacation and come and stay with us and learn to know your grandchildren. They really are something special, to us anyway. I'd like you to see John's new offices. I said tonight that I wish John weren't gone so much, and Mark said, "You have us, you know, Mother. We'll keep you company." Mark says his prayers and thanks God for friends, the nice day, and trees. Pamela says her prayers and says, "Don't make Mommy cross with me. Make her nice to me. Make me a pretty girl. Thank you for my pretty arms and pretty fingers." I do love her, but she has her quirks. Pam hates to wear clothes and often comes out with not a stitch on, carrying her summer pajamas that she wants to wear. Today she wore pajamas all day, never did want to get dressed until bedtime. Then we needed clean pajamas. She's quite the gal. We've had more folks in to see the slides of our trip to New Zealand and Australia, and having 4 more couples in Saturday. That'll be about 30 we've had in so far, and have quite a few more. John has had more speeches, and we showed the slides downtown Cleveland last week. We were also on the radio last week on how we can compete with Russia for a half an hour. I got quite a compliment. The fellow from the radio called and in conversation said I had a very pleasant voice, and he was interested in the things I said about India. I have a tea Friday night. John's folks might be in Sunday for the flower show. We have a full schedule here. Love, John, Ruth, Mark, and Pamela. P.S. I'll finish the New Zealand letter later. P.S. I saw John's new offices for the first time last week and was quite impressed. 7 offices, big reception room, library, and 3 secretaries. Of course, there are other fellows in until they can expand. They even have a canteen to make coffee, tea, and cocoa in the library. I would like you to see it. It would be nice for you to see Mark before he's completely grown up. He's certainly no baby anymore. Pamela is 37 pounds and Mark 43 pounds. Mark's almost up to my shoulder. He's grown so tall. Love all. 602 Huntmere Drive, Bay Village, Ohio, March 27th, 1957. Dear Mother, John reminded me it was about time I wrote another epistle to you, and I've been meaning to finish the New Zealand trip, but we do lead a very busy life around here. I had a week at home every night in which John insisted I go to bed and get rested up, so I've been reading the book, The Greatest Faith Ever Known. However, last week was busy again. We try to have groups in every Saturday night to show the slides of the trip, when we're not going out, that is. Poor John is getting weary of showing them, but I think we're about caught up on our entertaining. Had about 40 in so far. This coming Saturday, we're planning a potluck supper for 24, so it's been busy. I was elected treasurer of the Bay Junior Women's Club last night. We raised $1,600 this year, so a budget of about $2,000 to handle should be interesting. We have 250 members. I know you disdain meetings, but you know, if it weren't for them, we'd never have had our wonderful trip. Living with John, there's always something new, and the latest exciting news is that he's been appointed to one of the international commissions of Junior Chamber International, and last week Wendell Ford, the national president, phoned him long distance from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and offered him the national chairmanship for the On to Tokyo, Japan delegation. American groups going to the World Congress in Japan in October. So he'll have his expenses paid for San Francisco over. It will be for 3 weeks, and they'll visit Manila, Philippines, Tokyo, Hong Kong, and Tokyo, Japan. What a wonderful opportunity for him. I'm very proud of John. We had an idea of it. I was quite sure he'd be asked. When we were in Melbourne, Australia, one night before an Olympics party, I realized Wendell Ford was thinking along those lines and told John so. John hadn't realized it at that point. We plan to go to the state convention May 17th and 18th, and the Chamber of Commerce cruise on the Great Lakes goes up to the Georgian Bay this year. It leaves June 17th for a week. Then we hope to go to the National Convention in Milwaukee from June 24th for a week. We have not asked Mrs. Ray about taking the children. I hate to do so now and suggested to John we take them to Milwaukee with us, but he didn't seem to like the idea. We'll be gone the last 2 weeks of June. I hope your vacation plans are for the first 2 weeks. Could Dad get July? I do hope you can make it here. I imagine that Sunday school does have mite boxes, but they didn't give them to the nursery children. I moved Mark up to the next class, and he likes it. I think the 3X will be okay for Pamela. Dress. She'll love it. She's so crazy about pretty dresses. Today she wore the blue one you sent her, and her arms are so fat. The puffed sleeves pinch her just a little. That pleases me so much because I remember being so embarrassed because sleeves were always so big on my arms when I was a girl. Not when I was 2, I expect, though. Pam's going to be like John, a butterball. She's got sunburn already, too. When Mark came in today, he said to Pamela, "My, you look very pretty. That's a pretty dress, and you have pretty legs." She went over and gave him a big kiss, a big hug, kissed him, and said, "Why, thank you, Mark. God bless your little soul." They are simply priceless. John says we should have a tape recorder of her. After Sunday school dinner last Sunday, I was chairman for the Crippled Children's Drive for a couple of streets. 8 girls collected $81. We got $1,600 in Bay Village. John took the kiddies to fly kites, then came back for me. The first time I've ever flown a kite. 1,600 feet of string, so it was way up. We went to the park so it wouldn't catch in the trees and wires around here. It was exciting and a good day for it. John also had an airplane for Mark to fly. It did stunts. There were so many families flying kites. Some of our neighbors and Mark went to them and Mark said, "See, that's my daddy." The kites really put on a performance. I hope it's good weather again soon for it. One of the women we met in New Zealand has a daughter here in Cleveland, married to an American serviceman. She had a party 2 weeks ago for us, a dinner party, very lovely home in Shaker Heights. 3 children, now divorced, just returned from 10 days in Jamaica with a nice tan. A very fancy affair, very nice. John showed the slides. We're exhausting this set, and then we'll start on his Japan set. We finally bought Mark a gun. Toy gun. I don't know if I told you that I didn't believe in guns for children, so we never got him any, and no one else did. One day last year he brought some old gun home, and I told him to take it back. The only time in his life he ever blew up at me. His face got red, and he said, "Daddy won't buy me a gun. You won't buy me a gun. Grandma won't buy me a gun. Santa Claus won't bring me a gun, so I've got to go out and get my own gun." Well, we got him a little one, but he's been hoping for a rifle. Friday night I got a new dress, and Saturday afternoon, while I got a new hat, John bought Mark a toy rifle that shoots corks. You never saw a happier child. John said, "Isn't it wonderful how happy you can make someone for 98 cents? One night, John was coming home so I could go out, and I heard Mark saying, "Our daddy's coming home, and no one else's daddy's coming home, just our daddy." Then he said, "Daddy's coming home, and you're going out? That's a pretty good arrangement." Much love, John, Ruth, Mark, and Pamela. To be continued. Now we have 2 letters to the editor based on the original publication. And the first is from Tessa J. Delina, the former secretary at Restless Educational Center in San Juan, Metro Manila, Philippines. Dear Mr. Ray, a pleasant day to you. I just finished reading SFMC number 44, and you are right in saying that this is an incredible issue. I dedicate this particular issue to your dad, John S. Ray, an achiever. It was quite an outstanding feat for him when he became the world's JCI senator. I particularly liked reading the journal regarding the trip to Australia and New Zealand. I am definitely sure it was quite a hectic but a wonderful and exhilarating trip for both of them. Mark and Pam are growing up so fast. It seems like I have just started reading the past volumes when they were just babies. And now Mark is quite advanced for his age, and Pam trying to exercise her independence, like choosing the clothes to wear. One particular letter, dated March 6, 1957, was a sort of a reminder for me to look after my diet, cholesterol. Up to now, I seem to have difficulty in this area. Anyway, I mentioned this because just this afternoon I had my annual physical examination. Pardon me if I am off tangent here. One particular line says that John will be traveling to Manila, Philippines, and other Asian cities. I also then would never know that you will be. Sure, he would never know that his future son Peter will be settling in the Philippines after 3 decades. Until your next issue, I enjoyed reading this one too. Sincerely yours, Tessa J. Dolina, Quezon City, Philippines. And the next comment is from John S. Ray, my father, and Ruth's husband and principal actor or person in these letters. Dear editor, your mother and I just finished SFMC number 42, looking at pictures and reading it together. What a pleasure. The pictures you used and your captions are just great. The activity level we maintained is almost beyond belief as we look back on those days. Recalling Mark and Pam's early years is such fun. How on earth we managed to do so much entertaining and have so many house guests in that little house at 202 Huntmere in Bay Village is amazing, especially with all the sickness. The Junior Chamber of Commerce was certainly big in our lives. Your mother and I were both community service nuts. Keep up the great work. Love, Dad. John S. Ray, Rocky River, Ohio. Well, that concludes today's presentation. Good luck to you with your efforts in family history. If this interests you, finding, preserving, and sharing old letters, diaries, photographs, family movies, and videos, and interviewing elderly relatives while they're alive, you might consider checking out our website, Adventures in History with Peter J. Ray, at peterjray.com. So far, we've made 661 history videos in 7 areas: world history, American history, book reviews, poetic tours, Cleveland baseball, family history, and autobiography. There's a donate feature. You might consider making a donation so we can continue making these videos. You also might consider checking out our podcast, Adventures in History, at Anchor FM, Peter Ray, REA. If you live in Metro Manila, Philippines, and are looking for a high school, you might consider Restless Educational Center. Restless is located in San Juan, Metro Manila, Philippines, Barangay Maytunas, not far from the intersection of P. Guevara and Wilson Street on Allenby Street. At Restless, we specialize in helping young people who have had difficulty in the larger traditional high schools. We're more than a school. Restless is a warm, supportive community and a family-type atmosphere, and we try to be creative and innovative. And the website is resalest.education, RESALEST. Thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.